Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. Here we have Dustin with a Gyruda Bomberman build. At least Gyruda's in it. I'm not sure he still has Salvagers. We'll see. Versus Tom on Entombsday, a spicy deck that gets to run both Dark Ritual and Force of Will. This is generally something I'm going to enjoy. Lotus Petal for him, along with an Underground Sea for Ponder. That is a pretty solid opening for a lot of, relative to Magic decks in general. We've got a Mishra's Bauble, a Mox Opal. Does he have a third artifact for Metalcraft here? No. We do have an Entomb, and this could be over very quickly. Gristlebrand going to the graveyard. Technically, that should actually be on top of the Entomb, should be on top of the Gristlebrand. You resolve the Entomb last. And now we've got Gristlebrand coming back. And Tom going to be able to draw at least 14 cards, maybe 21 if he's going to attack first. We'll see what his kill is. Lotus Petal. And Children of Corliss, and that's going to allow for all of that life to be gained back and even more cards to be drawn. And this one's going to be almost certainly over. It gets to a point where fumbling is an exercise in creative writing to come up with a way that this could actually fail. And Emrakul going to the graveyard. And Shallow Grave to bring it back and swing, similar to Sneak and Show, for lethal all in one go. Gristlebrand and Emrakul, best buds, and finding yet another deck that they can take down games together in, as Tom quickly picks up game number 1. All right, game number 2. Looks like Tom on a mull to 5. That is going to be pretty difficult to fight through. Mox Opal, Lotus Petal, and a Lion's Eye Diamond to go along with it. Looks like Cavern of Souls a little blown out at the back there. But yeah, that is a Cavern for Meddling Mage. And a Force of... Nope. Force of Will, that is unfortunate. As Cavern is... no. Meddling Mage is in the graveyard. Okay, so I think that was just... That's a little bit of an error. That's probably going to have to get fixed. So Meddling Mage has been countered by Force of Will, but it was cast off of Cavern. I think I recall this now. I'm going to skip ahead. All right, so I'm just going to pause the footage here just to explain how we resolve that. This is an F&M, and we are playing over webcam. So we are a little bit more lenient than we would be certainly in paper. As you saw, the glare on Dustin's Cavern of Souls may have made that difficult for Tom to see. And in general, we're trying to play with a little bit more grace than we would in a super competitive environment. Now, is it legal to cast Force of Will on a Meddling Mage? Absolutely. You can definitely do that. And, if you're underneath a Black Vice or something, or have a reason to want to get cards out of your hand, you're totally capable of doing that. Similarly, if you were getting mind-slavered by your opponent, they could make that play. That's probably the only time that you're actually going to see it when it's correct in Legacy. And even that, Mindslaver is not really played in Legacy. So generally, not going to be something that you want to do. You're not actually intentionally using a Force of Will on a creature that's being cast through Cavern of Souls. And communication is generally going to avoid that type of blowout situation where your opponent's wasting a card to do something that they weren't intending to do. Is there a place for that at the highest competitive levels? That's an interesting question, because at the highest level, it's not going to happen. So it's kind of like a mid-range type thing where you can just kind of get people who might not be playing as much Magic as they might necessarily want. Somebody that's only getting out once a month, who is a solid player otherwise, they could make that type of small error and have the consequence of it is huge. Like losing your Force of Will for nothing is a catastrophic error, but the missing of the Cavern of Souls is a fairly small interaction. Like it's 1 point of detail, and if you miss it, it's a disaster. So what we did here, we allowed the rewinding to the Meddling Mage being on the stack, and the Force of Will being in Tom's hand, and basically Meddling Mage resolved. Dustin named a card. I'm not sure what it is, and we're proceeding from there. So in the comments, let me know why you think that is inappropriate or appropriate for a FNM over webcam. I've been running tournaments for the last 25 years-ish, and I can say with certainty that the rules have become much more relaxed, but this one's interesting. It's not entirely clear what the optimal way to handle this is in terms of both the integrity of the game and the players enjoying themselves and creating the environment that we're looking for. And ultimately, I think certainly, the glare being a factor and the fact that we're playing over webcam, I'm comfortable with that. So that's enough of an aside for that, and let's hop back in. Tom now. Up a game, facing down a Meddling Mage and a whole lot of mana. Gyruda could come into effect pretty quickly, and that is a 6/6. That's a part of the strength of this deck. Containment Priest being flashed in, also going to be uncounterable, and that is going to eliminate a lot of the lines that Tom might have been able to use to get out of this. Double Lion's Eye Diamond, and that's going to enable Gyruda and casting it in the same turn. Enough value there to merit getting rid of Karn, the only card left in Dustin's hand. And Gyruda, that could get Force of Will. That is not a human. 4 cards going into the graveyard. No synergy with Containment Priest, though. And the Stonecoil Serpent just going to end up getting exiled. I think they could have went either way. Gyruda and a pair of wizards is 10 damage per turn, so Doomsday dropping down to just 10. It'll be one more swing, and that'll do it. We've got, looks like I missed that. Perhaps that was an Entomb, but that's not going to matter with this Containment Priest on board. And it should just be one more swing as Dustin will take this one down. Oh, interesting. So let me know if you can see a reason to not swing with everything. I assume Dustin's playing around something. Tom likely to just be dead next turn. Not sure what he could be playing around there. Like opposition agent, I suppose. That is a creature that could be flashed in and blocked from hand. And now everything turns sideways. No, again, not Containment Priest. All right, well, just keeping that Containment Priest pristine for future games. Maybe if you take care of your Containment Priest, it takes care of you in Game 3 as Dustin ties this one up. And I have no idea how much time is left in the round because there was that judge call. But you would not expect this type of match to go to time. Polluted Delta leading out for Tom in this game number 3, grabbing an Underground Sea. Those recently broke through the $1,000 barrier, peaked at about 13 for near mint copies, and have retraced probably 10 or 20%. I think the last minty Underground I sold was back down to 1,100. But it does seem like the plus $1,000 Dooland psychological barrier has been breached. Mox Lion's Eye Diamond. That card used to literally be a budget card. You could build Belcher, and that was the only expensive card in the deck. We've got a Chalice at 1, and Tom has a response. What is this, an Entomb? Entomb for Gristlebrand? That might be the only 1-mana spell that Tom needs. I mean, they're still helpful. Dark Rituals, I mean, casting your Children of Corliss, additional Entombs. So Goro's Vengeance is bringing back Gristlebrand. Tom going to draw at least 14 cards here, maybe 21. First game, we saw him attack with Emrakul, which may be the preferred method of victory here. A couple of Lotus Petals opening up his options. He draws 7 more cards. Gristlebrand turning sideways. There's no mana in the pool, so he's just going to go ahead, get the damage in, draw 7 more, and see if he can get a Children of Corliss into play. Not sure how he would do that. I mean, you could do, if you don't have Emrakul in hand, you could do like Lion's Eye Diamond into... Well, that's not going to work. What are these, Dark Ritual? The Dustin did catch the Chalice trigger. It looks like he tried to Dark Ritual confidently, but Dustin, remembering his trigger, despite the terrible board state for him, and that's going to give him a chance. I mean, Tom drew a ton of cards, but he's going to have to discard down to 7, lose his Gristlebrand, and there's still that Chalice at 1 out. We'll see what Dustin can do on his turn. Yeah, goes away. Everything goes to the bin. Tormod's Crypt. That eats a Force of Will, so Tom now down to just 5 cards. Oh, yike. So Emrakul was actually in the graveyard. That's a little bit of a mess. So the whole graveyard needs to get shuffled back in, minus that Force of Will. That is unfortunate. That does change Tom's draw. Like, he had 0 chance of drawing that Emrakul. He may have multiple copies in the deck, but that is unfortunate. But we will get through this game either way. Cabal Therapy hits a Chalice. This Chalice doing some work. We don't actually see that very much on camera. I'm not going to lie. It's a little bit different playing into your opponent's Chalice. Containment Priest comes down now. Playing into your opponent's Chalice in paper versus in person does feel different. Lion's Eye Diamond being used to pay the 1 for days. And then a Force of Will coming over the top and actually countering it. So Days prompted Dustin to use the LED, and then Force of Will happy to counter it once the rest of those resources were discarded. So now it's just a Chalice at 1. And not a lot of life left to work with here. Is this a Limdul's Vault? Yeah, Limdul's Vault being played. Helpful little zoom in there. But Tom does not have a whole lot of life left, if I recall. I think he would be at just a handful of life. He paid 14 for Gristlebrand, and he also used Force of Will. I think a fetch. So Limdul's Vault goes digging. Chalice at 1 still there to potentially thwart whatever it is Tom's looking to do. He needs to get, in all likelihood, a Gristlebrand into the graveyard, or preferably an Emrakul, and then respond with a Shallow Grave. Emrakul would actually be lethal, as the 7 damage has already been pushed through once. That Containment Priest may have actually won the game for Dustin if it wasn't for that Force of Will on Tom's side. Lotus Petal. And now Urza. And, I mean, this may actually win the game as well just by pushing through damage. The 4/4 Construct, along with Urza, I believe will be lethal. Tom's going to have 1 turn to answer this, at best. Turning everything sideways. Looks like Griselbrand popping out of the graveyard to block, and that's going to allow some life gain, so additional cards can be drawn. What do we have from Dustin? Is this surprise blocker going to work? It does. Well, I'd love to know the life total. It's got to be super close. Second main. Karn. Where did the Griselbrand go? How did that Griselbrand end up in the graveyard? I miss that. I am not going backwards, though. We got more videos to do today. This is a chaotic ending to this game. Karn has come down. We've got plenty of damage with this Construct. Is that an Echoing Truth on the Construct? Wow. We have no damage. Chalice at 2. Is it caught? Let's see where this goes. This has been quite a crazy match. Tom taking his time, thinking this through, facing down quite a lot. Walking Ballista found off of Karn, and I think that's going to do it. I think this is actually just going to be lethal damage just from the Walking Ballista. From 1 swing and then removing the counters. Ponder. And a couple of more 1-mana spells played into that Chalice, as Walking Ballista does, in fact, take it down. 1 swing and then removing the counters. Enough to take this one down for Dustin, despite a very scary board state that Tom was able to create early. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.